him down.
Good evening. My name is Garth Ridland. I'm co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome the candidates and the viewers at home for this candidates forum. We're on night 2. With me is Barry Wilford, who is the president of the chamber. And if the audience has any questions, we have some sticky notes that we've been distributing to those that are here tonight. Please bring your questions that you have to Barry, and we will try to get to as many of them as possible. We might sort for, how frequently something comes up, but we had some great questions last night. Look forward to some great questions today. All right. The format we're following tonight is each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, followed by questions that are submitted in writing from the audience. When we do get to the questions from the audience, we'll try to keep the responses to those questions to about a minute so we can get through as many of the audience's questions as possible. There isn't any verbal questions from the audience. Those things will be written down, and Barry will take those. At the end of the questioning, each candidate will have an opportunity for a 1-minute closing statement. All right. So first up tonight, we have 2 districts here, or 2 wards of our city council that are contested. I will just mention that Ward 6 is also, there is a vote on Ward 6. Dana Sandy is running unopposed. So he cedes his time to the 5 of you tonight. All right. So we have 3 candidates from Ward 2, 2 candidates from Ward 4. We have you seated by ward. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with opening statements from Ward 2, and we'll start with Dale.
All right. Dale Bergman. I've lived here in Grand Forks for 67 years, and I'm running for city council to see if we can make some changes, start looking at not only our budget, which we know everybody's going to have difficulty with that, looking at our roads that are getting to be horrible. And then my biggest concern is what are we going to be doing about businesses, that we keep losing businesses instead of gaining any. And I'd like to see what we're going to be able to accomplish by keeping our businesses here in town, especially now that we've got the Agristo Potato Company coming in town. And then I heard that we have also the Air Base is going to have that space-based mission coming in. We're going to be looking at housing also. We have to look at something. So we have many items that are going to be on the docket that we'll have to take a look at.
Thank you. Ryan King.
Hello, my name is Ryan King. I am running for City Council for Ward 2. Thank you guys so much for organizing this tonight and everybody who is involved. This is a really great opportunity. I have been living in Ward 2 for about 30 years, and I'm only 32 years old. I grew up across the street from West Elementary School and was given so much by the city and by this community, and now I'm trying to give back. I currently work as a teacher and a small business owner. I run a small business that offers music lessons to students in the area. And so I'm interfacing constantly with the teachers in the area. And that has been primarily what's driven me to run for city council. I want to provide the best service possible to my students and the best student service possible to my daughter, because I'm a dad. And the way that I see that is making sure that they have a school system that is funded and protected and cared for by the city. And so that is primarily what drove me to run for city council. I think that there's a movement across all sides at the state legislature, on the school board level, and I am trying to be that part of the city council level. So for me, it's protecting the schools and making sure that we have a well-funded school system that has driven me to run for city council. And I hope it will be what drives people to vote for me for city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Osowski.
Hi. First off, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. Last night went very well, so I hope tonight goes well also. My name is Rebecca Osowski, and I am the current Ward 2 City Council representative. The taxpayers of Ward 2 deserve a proven independent voice who puts residents first, not special interests or flashy projects. In my first term, I've worked hard to represent with integrity and transparency, and with your support, I'll continue to be a strong voice for not only the citizens of Ward 2, but all of Grand Forks. I was born on the north end of Grand Forks. Actually, in Ward 2, I bought my parents' home, so I currently reside in my childhood home. And I have lived here a majority of my life. I think Grand Forks is a great place to live and raise a family, and I am committed to keeping it great. I am a mother trying to ensure a better future for my 3 daughters. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Agriculture Business from the University of Minnesota Crookston, and I currently work full-time as an inside sales account manager. I'm committed to support responsible growth while protecting what matters most: affordable taxes, public safety, and essential city services. If reelected, I will continue voting against unnecessary spending, tax incentives for non-primary sector businesses, and projects that cause concern within the city of Grand Forks. I will not be just another rubber stamp of big city spending.
Thank you. Those are the opening statements for Ward 2 candidates. Now we'll move over to Ward 4 with Angela.
Hi, my name is Angela Salentini, and I am proud to be running for Grand Forks City Council for Ward 4. And I also want to toss out a thank you for the chamber to put this on and everything. As being a mother of 2, I believe in strong communities are built through listening, transparency, and practical leadership. I'm running to be the voice for the local family, responsible growth, and positive solution for our city. As being a nurse for over 20 years, I know how important it is to keep people here and to support our healthcare systems too. And when that starts getting broken, people start leaving and looking elsewhere. So my end goal is to try to keep more families here and want their children to be here. I lived in our house for going on 8 years, and it's fun to see that community grow in our area and seeing all the little kids running in the neighborhood. They feel safe. They're enjoying everyone around them. Talking to some of my neighbors too, they are still in their original home where they raise their family, so they always see the excitement of our kids running around the neighborhood, laughing, playing, and they enjoy that. And I want to be for the families and try to keep us here. So looking at the businesses, looking at housing, because we're middle-class families, so it was hard to look for housing for our income that we can enjoy the neighborhood and everything. So that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Harry.
Hello, my name is Harry Samuelson. I came to Grand Forks in 1996. I have made this place my home ever since. I got a degree from UND. Things weren't so great back at that time in mechanical engineering, so I went back into mechanics, and I am currently a diesel technician over in East Grand Forks. I am a punch-a-clock guy. I get up in the morning, work all day, come home, hopefully you get a couple of things done on your to-do list, and things are a little better tomorrow. I can realize that the regular working people in Grand Forks are feeling a little bit stuck with some of the things that have been going on. They're feeling a little bit more pressure with the costs of housings, the taxes, the pilots, some of the other things that have been happening. I would like to change some of that in the city. I want to try to get a little bit more common sense and some blue-collar attitude onto the city council, and maybe change that perspective that the city has been working under for the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you. So as we receive questions, we'll be starting with Ryan first for the first question, Rebecca first for the second question, and we'll keep going down the line with the questions. The first question that we have tonight, and this will go towards Ryan, we'll work our way down and come back to Dale. What is your top priority should you be elected to the city council? What is that top thing? We're all very passionate about this city. What is that top priority for yourself?
Yeah, so if you think about my priorities and what I want to accomplish on city council, for me in my head, it's very clear. It's this pyramid shape, At the top of it is the schools. I think if the school system is strong and funded and cared for by the city, then a lot of other things start to fall into place. And that also trickles out into making the other decisions, right? So for our school system to be strong, we have to have families that are there to use that school system. If we don't have families to be in the schools, then there's not really much of a point in having the schools. And so I am going along with what a lot of the other people on this forum have said with trying to keep families in Grand Forks. I think it's really interesting. Everybody mentioned trying to keep families in Grand Forks. And I think if you think about what that would look like, it would look a lot like me and my family. We're 30-something graduates of UND. We've graduated from UND, and now we're trying to take the things that we learned at UND and use them to make our community better. And I think if we have more people like that in Grand Forks, then we have a stronger community and therefore stronger schools. So I'm looking to get more families in Grand Forks and to service the schools in whatever ways I possibly can by utilizing my connections as a teacher. Thank you.
Hi. My top priority is and always will be the budget within the city. Recently, I feel that the city of Grand Forks has spent a lot of money, and the last thing I want is the city to be in the same situation as both the school board and the county commission. And I think the best way that we can go about doing that is just eliminating some wasteful spending and really getting down to the basics, back to building and maintaining our infrastructure.
My top right now is the pilot programs because I see a lot of people have questions about them. Why are we doing them and everything? I want to focus more on like doing the research behind the pilots, people who are approaching it and asking for it. Is this something we can support, or is this something where do we need to levy out like the percentage rate of those pilots? So I would love to, that's one of my top, is to focus more on the pilots and figure more about the research and how can we benefit businesses coming in and also the taxpayers' money too, because middle class, we see our taxes go up and we all get concerned of how we're going to pay them when they keep rising. So
I would have to echo a lot of this. I agree that the spending in Grand Forks is probably the number one thing. You're looking at some of the things that are happening in the city. Are they needs or are they wants? Are we spending money on outdoor hockey arenas when maybe we should be looking at trying to focus on how we're going to attract more single families in here? Walking around in my neighborhood, talking to some people, we've had some luck with that. But even my son, who just bought a house here a couple of years ago, it's tough. It's hard for them to do that. And when you've got a working family and maybe a couple of kids, you need to concentrate on doing some of those things. So how the city decides to spend its money and or not collect money is going to affect how all the rest of us in the city are then going to be able to grow and succeed and have our families succeed as well. So that one we need to do something with, and the 3% cap and how the city is going to adjust for that with some of their plans going forward is going to have a big effect on a lot of us going down the road here. Thank you.
I don't think there's just one particular item that you can count on for top priorities. If I had to take a pick on it, I'm going to be looking at both businesses and housing. We have a severe problem of businesses not in Grand Forks. They're all moving elsewhere. And when I hear it from my family, from neighbors, why is it I got to go to Fargo to get something to wear? Why is it I got to go to Fargo to buy something? We need to start looking at what we're going to do to get businesses back into town, especially when we got larger companies that are coming in here. Those families are going to need food. They're going to need clothing. They're going to need stuff. Their family members are going to need places to work. Right now, we've got nothing. And when it starts looking at housing, I am not a happy camper with apartments. We can build single-family homes a lot cheaper. We don't need to have these grandiose 9-foot ceiling, play football with the wife in the bedroom type bedrooms that are huge. Why can't we just build a standard 3 and 4 bedroom ranch home? We're missing out on something. And I've got a home that my daughter's going to be looking at now that is small enough for her to be in. Who's going to have the money to help fund it? It's going to all fall back onto dad again, because these young kids and young families, and I'm sure Ryan's one of them, they haven't got the money for the down payments, especially when they're paying for student loans and cars. And if they have kids, I feel sorry for them, and it's going to be tough.
Thank you all for your responses. The next question revolves around economic development. So, Rebecca, you'll get the first crack at this question. What is your position on the city's role in economic development? And specifically, what are your thoughts around property tax incentives?
Okay, I'll start with, I guess, the pilot and the property tax incentives. I'm not opposed to all tax incentives, but I do believe that they should be limited to primary sector businesses and, capped at no more than 10 years. I don't believe that the way the city has been currently handing out pilots is appropriate, especially considering that these mixed-use buildings are not primary sector businesses. I feel that the city's role in economic development should really be building and maintaining infrastructure for the businesses to come in so they have sites to build on, like we're doing currently with the Epitome site. I'm not sure if they're going to come or not, but we are building roads. We are bringing infrastructure out to those rural areas. I also think that part of the city's economic development should be just providing the basic services that we are here to do, such as fire and policing. And I think if we can keep our town safe and if we can keep our infrastructure up and maintained, that the people and the businesses will come.
I do agree a lot with her. We do need to focus on these pilots too, because like watching a lot of the city council, I feel like sometimes people are just approaching these new developers, and sometimes businesses are coming in and they just think they expect it was going to happen. Also, because property tax, when we keep watching it rise, we're like, okay, we need to budget this. What can we cut out on our monthly budget to make sure we have that money when it comes to time to pay that? Or people who have mortgages, their escrows are going to go up, and then their monthly payment's going to go up on that mortgage to be able to pay for that. We do need businesses to come in here, so it's a more evaluating like what type of business is coming in here, because I'm a mom of 2 daughters, so it is hard to shop around here to find my daughter's clothes, especially if it's a certain kind of event or something. I'm online looking because there's nothing around here to be able to purchase for them. And I do really want to see our community to grow economically. So people are coming here, they're visiting us, they're staying at our hotels, bringing revenues in that way. So there.
All right, let's talk about property taxes in 2 different ways. Number one, the homeowners. In the 13 years I've owned my house, my property taxes have doubled. Value of my house has not doubled. Absolutely not. So the homeowners are getting taken a little bit on this. And I don't think anybody in this room or anybody listening to this or watching this can say that the value of the services that they've been receiving from the city have doubled either. So we've got a problem there. What's the city doing? Where are they spending their money? Are these needs not wants? Are we taking care of the residents who are the largest share of the city and the largest share of the property taxes, even though the sales tax is a nice big cushion for the city? Are we taking care and using that money that we're getting from the hardworking people in this city properly? Now, people have addressed businesses and stuff like that. Look at what the city has done with some of these pilots and things like that. You're directly affecting the local businesses that are in the city. You're making it more difficult for these people to run their business, grow their business, and be successful in Grand Forks. The greatest mousetrap for Grand Forks is the mousetrap that somebody makes here in Grand Forks, not the one that somebody made out in California. Hopefully that mousetrap can catch mice in California, but it ain't going to work in Grand Forks. Grand Forks needs to get the heck out of the way, make it easier for businesses, make it easier for the homeowners to live and thrive in this city.
There's a couple of items that you have there. Tax incentives, they can be a good thing, but I think we need to look at the length of time that we're given these tax incentives and what is the actual business that's coming in. I'm in the same boat. These mixed use developments, I do not see where we need to have tax incentives for that. What I'm looking at is a business that's going to be here and stay here. I don't want a business coming in thinking they're going to get a tax incentive and then 5 years later they up and disappear. There has to be a limit and there has to be some purse strings attached to it that says, I'm going to be here for the long run. And we need to start looking at that. Our economic development has to be fixed by businesses that are coming in here. We're losing economic development. I don't see it. When I started reading, when I was gone on vacation to Arizona, and I'm hearing about the ground round closing up and leaving, wow, that's amazing. Here we are. We're back to this again. Everybody's leaving. You look at that mall, and I know people have discussed with that mall, that is a blight. That could be changed over to a good economic development. Maybe we need to rethink our thoughts on what we're doing with economic development. And we need to start looking at our infrastructure, just like Rebecca had mentioned. When we build a house, we have to maintain that house. And I don't see us maintaining it like we should be.
Great. So I agree with most of what everybody's been saying. Something I think that's been neglected is the use of these tax incentives as a tool. The reason I'm sitting here in front of you is because I bought a house in Ward 2 a year ago. And the reason I bought that house is because tax incentives in Grand Forks had made it more affordable than my current renting agreement. So I bought a house because it was the cheaper option between owning a house and renting. Now, we can use those tools to encourage our city to look the way we want it to look. If we want more families living here, well, then we give those families tax incentives. If we want less of these multi-family housing units and rental units, then we use those we take those tax incentives away and we say, okay, if you want to do this, we're not going to make it as easy for you as it has been. And then what we'll see is a different Grand Forks. When I was growing up across the street from West Elementary School, I had so many families to go mess around with, and I'm sure their parents got very annoyed by me in the end, but that was great. And now when I take my daughter trick-or-treating, I can't find any houses to knock on. And it's because we've kind of pushed these families out and made room for rental houses that are filled with students or people who aren't going to live there for very long. So I see these tax incentives as a tool that we can use to shape the Grand Forks that we want to have. And I look forward to being on city council and being able to exercise those tools.
Thank you all for your responses. Angela, you'll get the first crack at this question. What represents quality of life for you in Grand Forks, and what will you do to support that on City Council?
Well, just to offer Halloween trick-or-treating, you could come to our neighborhood. We have plenty of people that are passing out candy. I think it's just having family. Like, you come to our neighborhood. You're watching kids run around, they're laughing, they're having a good time. And seeing those kids developing those memories in the neighborhood, thinking, I want to stay here. Like, what's going to promote me as a mother to encourage my daughters to stay here close to us? And it's to making our neighborhood safe, feeling people secure that they can grow as a family. There's the resources they need to help support their families. And my goal is to help be that listening ears for the family. They can come talk to me when they have issues, be like, how can we do this? Or can you bring this up to city council? Who do I need to contact to help support a need that needs to be done in the neighborhoods and stuff like that? Did I answer it correctly?
Quality of life in Grand Forks. thinking back on my experiences here in Grand Forks, I'd say my neighbors and my friends here, some of the people that live around me have helped me with legal issues, have helped me in life, certainly, have given me a shoulder when I needed one, and I was there for them. We have a wonderful city, and most of all the neighborhoods and all the working people in these neighborhoods, we're just trying to help each other out. We're hoping to do better off day by day by day. Now, it'd be nice to have parks. That's what we have a park board for, not a city. So we have a park board for. We have businesses that are places to go, but we've been hamstringing them in the same way. So we start losing the ability for us to go get jobs or open a new business or have places to play because we're working in the wrong direction, I think. We need to keep these things together and let Grand Forks be a little bit more organic with the working class people, the business people. All of them know what they want to do. They all want to succeed. Everybody wants to succeed. We need the schools. We need those teachers and stuff too. I mean, I would love to have my kids and my grandkids grow up in the same city. This is what I call God's country. I finally convinced my dad to move here. God's country. This place is wonderful. It's the best city in the world, and I've been to a lot of them. We need to work and mature that all up and have these families stick around. But we got to make it easier for these families. Give them some places to go. Give them some things to do. Take advantage of the winter. Mother Nature punishes us for 6 months out of the year. We're going to have to do something to have that be more fun. And let's try to figure out how we can get more visitors in here so that we can then convince them that this is the greatest city in the world.
Quality of life for me is your friends and your neighbors, because that is a big key. And we need to keep our friends and neighbors in the community that they can live in and not be taxed out of their house, their home, whatever. We are changing the way of life by putting up apartments after apartments. And I hate to say it, but when I look at my own daughter who's been living in an apartment for 15 years and has got a kid that's 10 years old, never gets to see the outside and run around the neighborhood, that's disgusting. And we need to change that. And I would rather see us have single-family homes and keep people coming into Grand Forks. Yes, I have to agree with Harry. We get winter 6 months. This year it's 8 months. But there's still things that we can be doing in town. And as soon as we start losing businesses like we have been, they're all heading south to Fargo. I'm so sick and tired of that city in Fargo that I want to see Grand Forks change and start growing up.
So I have a model with my students that I like to work off of, and I want to instill 3 qualities in my students. First of all, I want them to be capable. If you're good at stuff, you can do a lot of stuff. I want them to be ethical. If you have strong ethics, then you know what stuff to do. And I want them to be in the right place. If they're in the right place, then they can put those first 2 things to use and they can make their community a better place. I see that as my job as a teacher. And so when I think about quality of life in Grand Forks, again, I'm a broken record, but it comes back to the schools. If we have a strong school system that is instilling those 3 things in people and then letting Grand Forks be that right place, then I think we ensure a quality of life for people that's pretty high. I have 2 friends coming to visit me from California next week. And it's so funny selling people on a trip to Grand Forks because I'm always like, wait, hear me out. But I am so excited for them to see our community because I think we've built a school system and we've built a community from that school system that encourages some really awesome things that I'm proud to show people, even from California where they have bigger things. But our things are really, really nice. So yeah, again, broken record, but I think if you're looking to improve the quality of life for people who benefit from the school system directly or indirectly, it's the schools.
All right. So what I think represents quality of life in our community is the safety and the cleanliness of our community and other essential services. Honestly, if you look down on it, if these services went away, we would have no quality of life within our community. I think we should also work towards just functionality within the city. I think that helping lower property taxes would go a long way for some of the other like fun projects that people want to do, because if we can put more money, if the citizens are able to keep more money in their pocket, they'll be able to afford to go to some of these places to have fun within our community. And I also think, like I stated before, the essential city services, clean water, we wouldn't have any quality of life if we didn't have clean water or even good roads to drive on. And so I really want to get back to just the basics of quality of life. I think that the private sector should deal with more of the fun things that are within our community. And if we can help lower property taxes, I think that some of those people would come and build within our community. And honestly, if there's money to be made within our community, someone is going to come in here and they're going to find a way to make that money with some of these more fun type quality of life things that are going on.
Thank you. The next question revolves around housing. We're UND is growing. We have some primary sector businesses coming to town. We're getting some really nice wins, but they're all going to live somewhere. They need to live somewhere, and we've been pretty flat in terms of our population. So seems like we're about to grow. What is the city's role, from your perspective, in incentivizing housing, whatever that might look like for you, for these new people that are coming to town? Because I know there's a lot of concern about the property costs. More demand, increased costs, and making it even more unaffordable for new home buyers. So I'm sorry, that's a really long question, but it is, what is the city's role in housing? We've got a lot of good things on the way here.
Right now, it seems like the city's approach is apartments. Apartments. Hey, let's put some commercial stuff underneath it, and that'll make everything all better. In my mind, I still believe that most people want the American dream. You don't want to. I've lived in apartments for a long time, and even in Grand Forks or in my buddy's basement or whatever. I mean, we all find a place where we need to, but eventually you're going to grow up, you're going to get married, you're going to have some kids, and you don't want to be living in an apartment. You get a couple, 2, 3 of them, that apartment gets really, really small. I think most everybody still wants that American dream, someplace with a fenced-in backyard. They can let their kids play outside. The other neighbors can come over. They're safe. They're taken care of. The businesses that we have coming in here right now and what the city is doing with apartments may be a stopgap measure. I don't like the way they're approaching it, but we're going to have a need here pretty dang soon that we're going to have to address. I don't think that's the overall answer. I don't think that's the right answer, but it might fill that little problem in the meantime. I don't know that the city should be necessarily incentivizing that. From what I've been hearing, there's a lot of people paying for apartments more than what I'm paying for my mortgage. And that's just insane. One of the other benefits to home ownership is like the fastest way to generational wealth, to savings, to long-term financial stability. We need to start looking at how we can do that as a city. I don't like government getting involved in private sector issues. That's, to me, if everything was perfect, an ideal system, we wouldn't have to deal with that. But I had a conversation with some people yesterday, and we were talking about this very same thing. And we have a land problem in Grand Forks. We have an infrastructure problem in Grand Forks because we are in the bottom of a lake, and it costs a lot of money to lay that stuff out and set that stuff up. I'd like to see if there is some way that we can do something to make that a little bit more affordable so that some of those builders and some of those homeowners can get into those houses rather than trying to fill into an apartment that costs the same. And or if maybe we need to, if you want to look at pilots, let's look at a 20-year pilot on buying a house. Give me 20 years off of my mortgage for my taxes. My escrow is going to drop by $400, $500, $600 a month. Let's see the city do that. They want to give me 5% for fixing my house. They're more than willing to give 5% to anybody who comes knocks on the door. All right, if you want to give them 20, give me 20.
When I start looking at housing, I think the city has to start going back and asking these developers what they're doing. Because when I start looking at some of these homes that are being built in the south end of town, I don't know how a individual can afford them, or a family, I should put. Because when you start getting out of school, and I'm sure like Ryan would be one good example, he's got student loans. I'm sure his wife would probably have a student loan. Got to have a car, might have 1 or 2 car payments. Oh, all of a sudden now we got a kid. You haven't got the money for these homes. Tax incentives for the homeowners that are first-time home buyers, that would be fantastic. But we also need to look at the size of those homes. 1,400 square foot home would be a great starter home for people to have. We don't need all the wild angles on the roof or anything. Just a plain straight roof line would be great. Single car garage. They live in an apartment. They got probably one underneath that's stored in the warm climate. The other one's outside. Why can't you do the same thing at a home? We've got to start making some changes. I don't need a home that has a 6-stall garage or one that I can put, 4 cars in and the camper and everything else. There's got to be some priorities that we got to start looking at. And I think if we start looking at some of our housing, I think we can start making some tax incentives then for the first-time home buyers to start looking at getting into those homes.
Yeah, so we've been talking about pilot programs a lot, and it's so weird that with pilot programs, we look at these big companies and we're like, yeah, I think we should give them millions of dollars to make this business, with the idea that, okay, and it'll eventually lead to more tax dollars for us. But I mean, the same principle applies with families. If you are making tax incentives to build these family housing units, then like those families are going to move in and those families are going to pay taxes. Sometimes those families are going to pay taxes for longer than these companies are going to pay taxes for. And so I would like to see a push from the city to try and apply this pilot program idea, not just to these big companies that want to come in and make a bunch of money, but to these families that want to come in and make a family and make a community. So that's how I see the city interfacing with housing, is trying to use these tax incentives to say like, hey, if you're a family and you want to build a house, we're going to make that as easy as possible for you. I think that's the best thing that the city can be doing in this case. Thank you.
First off, I want to state that the housing problem in Grand Forks is not unique to us. This is going on all over the United States. And recently, we just got a new Fed chair, and they are hoping to cut rates. Also today, I did notice that the House passed the Home Affordability Act. So hopefully, I believe that has to do with large corporations buying up single homes in large quantities. And so, I'm hoping that some of these things can come from the top down to help us out. I also would like to point out that I think it's great that, UND is expanding and that the base is getting more and more airmen, but the base had to tear down a bunch of their housing and they never rebuilt. The University of North Dakota destroyed tore down a bunch of their student housing and they didn't rebuild. And now all of a sudden it is being pushed on the city of Grand Forks to provide this type of housing for, the students and for the base. I really do think that the free market should just be able to play itself out. I have been added to the new housing committee to help come up with solutions about the housing situations that we are facing. But if developers are coming in and stating that the only way that they can build is if they get tax breaks, obviously our taxes are too high and we should really work on lowering our property taxes. And I think some of the ideas that were stated up here are really great ideas, but at the end of the day, these tax incentives are part of North Dakota Century Code, and we just can't be handing them out to whoever or whatever wants a tax break. And we need to follow North Dakota Century Code. It's not we play it, on a case-by-case scenario, but there is law that states who qualifies for these type of tax incentives. But I think at the end of the day, if we can, lower our current property taxes as much as possible, that people will come and build within our community and the free market will play itself out.
Well, I could tell you my experience. Like 8 years ago when we were looking for a house, I was 7 months pregnant. My whole thing of looking for a house was location. I wanted a well-developed area that is family friendly, that I know my kids are going to enjoy to grow up in. And we did find that house, but the first thing the realtor told us is you better make what you want to pay, what you're willing to pay for this house, because it's not going to stay on the market long in these well-established houses areas. So it's like trying to build where families can grow. Like they know this is going to be a safe neighborhood, but it's also close to my work, where I know I'm not going to have to commute 30 minutes to get to where I need to work. It's also looking at the location we're going to build this development area or these next set of apartments, and making them the housing simple. Like I would have loved just a ranch style house, one level and everything, because you know what? Eventually when you have little kids running up and down the stairs, you get tired after a while. And also finding these incentives for families to come here. Like if they're going to be willing to build, knowing that they have an option of maybe bringing in a modular home, setting on a cement slab and making that their starter home, for eventually knowing, okay, I'm going to build a bigger house or get a nice yard site where they know they can expand onto their homes and everything. It's very important where a location is in that housing area for people too, because they want to make sure it's safe. They want to feel like this is my home where I'm going to stay forever. So I think for city council is more looking to it, where do we want to develop? Because we have one big, huge new businesses that's coming on the north end. Are those people who are working there, are they going to want to be all the way on the south end, knowing that I have to take Washington all the way down and then is it looking at a new location for these people too?
Okay. Our next question is a little bit of a change of pace, and we'll go back to Dale to start this one. In an increasingly divisive political climate, how will you maintain civility with people that you disagree with?
Well, I think you need to have the discussions with the individuals. You can't lose your cool on people. Everybody has an opinion, whether it's right or wrong, but that was what we always used to do, is you have that discussion, and we've turned away from that in these political arenas nowadays. It's my way or no way, which is not the right way. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an idea. You need to look at all of them, and you need to sit down and have those discussions with these folks. Because if you don't have those discussions, it's just oh, I'm just going to do it my way and that's it. No, you can't do that. We're being elected by the citizens in our ward to represent them. So you got to look at that whole ward. And then you also got to look at what's best for the city. And what I look at, we always say greater Grand Forks. I don't think we're even greater anymore. I think we're going down in the opposite direction. So we need to start having those conversations and getting back to people.
So an experience that I've been really lucky to have as a teacher is this experience of meeting students that I kind of meet and I wonder what's going on in your head, and then meeting their parents and being like, what's going on in their head? And what this has taught me is to try and figure it out, to try to figure out, okay, where are you coming from? Because there's not a student that doesn't want to learn, and there's not a parent that doesn't want their kid to succeed. And I think it's the same thing when I look around this panel here. Nobody's here for any reason other than wanting to make Grand Forks better. And I might disagree with how they go about it, but I know that that's their intention, and I know that that's where they're coming from. And so I think my years as a teacher have trained me to deal with people in that sort of way, where I can talk to people and understand, like, okay, this is what you're trying to accomplish. I disagree with what you're trying to do. Let's see if we can understand each other better and get to some sort of solution that's going to work. And if we can't, it's also okay to just say, okay, well, we disagree on this. That's fine. We'll move on to something else, and we'll just agree to disagree. But I never take it personally with my students or their parents, and I'm not going to take it personally with other people on city council.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. In an increasingly divisive political climate, how will you maintain civility with people that you disagree with?
Well, first off, you're not always going to agree with all of your constituents. And I mean, I get my fair share of angry calls. And I think the biggest thing for those people who are upset is they just want someone to listen to. And so I listen to their concerns. I might not always agree, but I am always willing to help. I have a current constituent in Ward 2, and her and I do not see eye to eye politically, but she will call me in the middle of the day and she will be like, there is trash everywhere. I have to show you I'm coming to pick you up. And she'll show up at my house. I might still be in my pajamas because I work from home. And I will get into her car and I will go with her all around our ward and we will look at the problem areas. And, although we do have our differences politically, we're able to, enjoy that time together and talk about other things that, I can help her with. And there's always going to be people that disagree with you, whether it's on pilots or anything like that. And I just think it's important to just kind of hear them out. And really, at the end of the day, people just want to be heard.
I agree with Rebecca on a lot of those things. As being a healthcare worker, we're taught to listen. People are venting to you for a reason, and it's not to get them more angry. It's to listen to them because they may have a valid concern, and it's taking that valid concern back. Sometimes it's repeating what they say to make sure you're understanding that correctly. And if they want more information about how you're viewing it, it's sitting down saying, like, this is what I think, or this is how I'm viewing it. So then they get to understand that that's your opinion. It's not you're reflecting your opinion onto them, because we hear a lot of people say, well, here is your opinion, I think, and this is what you should think, but it's letting that person speak to you and listen. I've dealt with conflict pretty much like my whole nursing career. Like, there's always that one patient or that one employee or provider and stuff like that. So it's working with the people and listening to them and support them, because they do have a valid concern that they're bringing to you, because it's valid to them, and it's to respect that. So
Dealing with my neighbors. I think in most cases, and even just walking around and talking to them, we might not agree on, you can say, the politics side of things or the divisive side of things, but we have way more in common than what politics is. Nobody cares about the president in all reality. It's more of the interpersonal thing. If they're coming to somebody that they have chosen to represent them, it no longer becomes a me thing. I'm not trying to get on the city council because I want to accomplish something. I'm on the city council because I want to help you accomplish what you want to get done. So if it's your neighbors and constituents, you're going to listen to them. You're going to discuss whatever the problem is, discuss whatever the good thing is, hopefully, and let's work towards a solution. I do the same thing in the interactions that I've had with council members, county members, staff members, heck, even my work members. We're not going to agree. I've had discussions with this mayor. Everybody has an idea of how they're going to save Grand Forks. We don't know if it's 100%. We don't know if it's going to work. But you know what? The more that we work together, talk about it, and discuss it, we can come up with a really good solution that's going to be better for all of us.
Thank you all. I apologize to a couple of the folks in the audience who had some great questions, but we're going to be running short on time here. So we're going to move over to closing comments, and we'll go in reverse order. You're back up for the first crack at closing comments. So we'll hear from Ward 4 first, and then we'll move over to Ward 2.
My name is Harry Samuelson, and I am running for City Council in Ward 4. I'm not running to be a City Council member. I don't want to be part of a group. I'm not part of a club. I want to be your representative. I want to be that person that you can come, bring me your ideas, bring me your good, bring me your bad, and I can try to get that worked out and get that moving forward for you in the city. I'm also looking at how we can work together to make this city better. We all have to do that. This is a great, great city. We're missing some things. Clearly, we are. We need to figure out how we're going to do that. I don't have the solutions. I don't have all the answers. But with some good hard work, and all of us talking about it, all of us working together, all of us pushing in the right direction and making good, sound decisions, we're going to have a much better city. And that's why I'm running for city council, and I'm just asking for your vote. Thank you.
My name's Angela Salentini, and I'm not running to be a politician. I'm running to be the voice for our community. I care deeply about our neighborhoods, our families, and the future of Grand Forks. I will listen, work hard, and make decisions with honesty, transparency, and the best interests of the residents in mind. I would be honored to earn your vote for Grand Forks City Council for Ward 4. So together we can continue to build a strong, safe, and connected community for everyone. I just want to be here for our families, to let the kids know. And my main focus too is showing my girls that they can do whatever they want to be and they can stay in the city and still support us. So thank you guys. Vote for me.
Sorry, we were going the other way. My apologies. All right. If reelected, I'm committed to supporting responsible growth while protecting what matters most, which I stated in my opening statement, affordable taxes, public safety, and other essential city services. Ultimately, I feel that I've been on the council for 4 years now. I do have extensive knowledge of our budget at this point. I do have the experience, and I think with me, and if you support me and vote for me, you know what you're going to get. There's no question about if I'm going to, change my stance on a topic. People who follow the city council are aware that I stand by my word, and I promise that I will continue to do that, and I will continue to represent the citizens of Ward 2 as well as all of Grand Forks.
Hello, Ryan King again. All right, so when we've been talking today, we've talked a lot about trying to bring families to Grand Forks. And really, when we're talking about that, we're talking about my generation. We're trying to bring my generation to Grand Forks. And I think a really big, important first step in that process is having representative voices from that generation on city council. I'm stepping up as a voice for that generation because I want to create a better home for my students and I want to create a better home for my daughter. And I see city council as the best way for me to achieve that right now. So I hope that you will come and talk with me and come let me know what's important to you to see on city council so that I can serve you when I'm on this council. So thank you.
Again, Dale Bergman for running for Ward 2. And my biggest thing is we want to start looking at what we're going to do for these businesses. We've got to get businesses back into Grand Forks, number one. Number two, let's start looking at our housing needs and how we can make some affordable houses rather than these $300,000 and $400,000 homes. There's got to be something better. And then let's go back to our infrastructure. When I was talking with my neighbors and stuff, and I live over there on North 20th Street, and when I hear the neighbors say they have to dodge the potholes and then they think they're going to have the police follow behind them for exhibition driving, we're starting to see that in a lot of our roads and stuff. So I want to start making some changes, see how we can make things work in this city, and yet be a voice for our Ward 2 constituents there, because we need to be heard.
Well, thank you all. On behalf of the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee, I want to thank you all for running and taking the time to dedicate a lot of, very spare personal time to serve the people of this community. I want to thank everybody for coming here and for some great questions tonight. I want to remind everybody that Election Day is Tuesday, June 9th, so please be sure to get out and vote. Want to let you know that this is on the city's Facebook channel, and it can be viewed there. We're now going to take a 5-minute break and reset with the candidates for the school board. For those of you who are a part of the audience tonight, I know you're having a lot of good conversations. Maybe I'll just turn this off and then talk to you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Garth Ridland. I'm co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome all of our candidates and the viewers at home for this candidates forum. With me is Barry Wilford, who is the president of the Chamber, who will be collecting the questions. So we have 8 candidates here tonight for our school board. We'll be electing 5 individuals of the 8. When we have our 2-minute opening statements, we'll try to hold to 1 minute for each of the individual questions that come in. So we might, because there's 8 of you, it might be harder to get through the whole thing tonight. So if you see Barry holding up a sign, that means your minute has elapsed. But we'll try to give you as much time as possible so that we can get through as many questions. So at the end of the questions, we'll conclude with a 1-minute statement from each of you as closing. All right. So we will always start left to right. And first up for an opening statement is Mary Adams.
Thank you. Alphabetical order is good too when you're running for the school board. I want to thank, my name is Mary Adams, lifetime resident of Grand Forks, North Dakota. I've gone through the public school system, well, the parochial and the public school system here in Grand Forks. Married, my kids are here, my husband's still here, and I want to run because I've been a volunteer in the Grand Forks public school system for, I want to say it's almost been 20 years now. And I've worked with different teachers, students, administrators in the schools, all that. And they're struggling right now. And I got to find a way to help them because in my family, there were 11 kids. There were 4 girls, and I was the only one who ever graduated from high school. And what I want to say is that it was so important for my dad for me to do that. And I got a good education in Grand Forks. It was tough. You know, we had to do homework all the time, but you got to listen to the teachers and you need to understand how the students are functioning in the classroom. Our teachers work so hard to do the job they do. There is just absolutely, it's the toughest job I think that there ever is because they're with our kids for 7 hours a day. They're their nurse, they're their mom, they're their counselor. They listen to them, they help them learn. So it's time that we went back to making the teachers and the children the priority in our Grand Forks school system, and that's what I will work to do if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Anderson.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and thank you for the chamber for hosting. My name is Josh Anderson. I am proud to be running for re-election to the Grand Forks School Board. This community and our schools are deeply personal to me. I'm a graduate of the Grand Forks Public Schools, a proud former employee of the district, and now a parent with 4 young daughters. 3 of my daughters are currently attending the Grand Forks Public Schools, and their younger sister will join them in the fall as a kindergartner. Because of that, I understand firsthand how important it is that our schools provide a safe, supportive, and high-quality education for every student. The decisions we make on the school board directly impact not only our community's children, but my own family as well. It has been an honor to serve our students, families, teachers, and the community on the school board over the last 4 years. During that time, our district has faced significant challenges and important opportunities. And I believe the experience I have gained matters. We have worked through complex issues, made difficult decisions, and continued moving our district forward. Today, our schools are in a much different place than they were when I began serving on the board, and I'm proud of the progress we've made together. Throughout my time on the board, I've worked to be a thoughtful, prepared, and accessible representative who puts students first in every decision. My background is an IT manager, and this has given me invaluable experience in leadership, problem solving, and accountability, all qualities that are essential for effective school board service. I understand the importance of balancing educational excellence, fiscal responsibility, and supporting the dedicated staff who serve our students daily. One thing I take very seriously is showing up. I have consistently attended board meetings, school events, community discussions, and activities across the district because I believe school board members should be visible, engaged, and informed. Listening to parents, teachers, students, and taxpayers help me make better decisions and remain connected to the needs of our schools. I'm running for re-election because I care deeply about the future of our district and the opportunities available to every student. I want to continue to work collaboratively to support academic success, safe learning environments, responsible budgeting, and long-term planning that keeps our schools strong for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonelle Bakke.
Hi, my name is Jonelle Bakke, and there's one simple reason why I'm running for school board. Education's been my life. It's my passion. I graduated from the University of North Dakota with a master's degree in special education and undergraduate degree in elementary and special education. I started teaching in 1973. I've taught in Manville. I've taught in St. Louis. I came back to the Grand Forks area in 1983 and have taught here since then. I retired in 2013, but was talked into going back for 3 years and was teaching special ed. And then I said, well, I think I'll take a break again. And I did. And then I came back again and did another 3-year stint helping out in the classroom. And what I'm seeing is a very different school environment than when I first started out. They have unique challenges. There are a lot of things that are different about how education was. The reason I have 4 children. They all attended the Grand Forks Public Schools. I have 3 grandchildren who are currently attending the Grand Forks Public Schools. I had 35 foster kids, most of whom attended the Grand Forks Public Schools, except for the little ones who weren't old enough to go to school. I just am passionate about education. That's all I've ever wanted to do is teach. And I think everything I've done in my life has been geared toward teaching. I served in the North Dakota Senate for a period of time, and when I was there, I was on the education committee and worked on the funding at the state level. I have served on national and state and local boards for education and for the human service areas. I'm familiar with how boards work, and I just feel this is my time and my chance to give back to my community.
Thank you. Elise Dunnigan.
Hi. Similar to Jonelle, I am a former educator. I worked in public schools for 13 years, which doesn't sound like very much coming after Jonelle. But I was a Grand Forks Public School educator for 11 of those years, teaching music at Schrader Middle School. So you can imagine what pushed me to run. There's been a lot of music cuts in the district that were really frustrating from the teacher point of view. A lot of changes that were made that really affected not only teachers, but the student experience. I also have 2 small children in the district here, and so every decision I would make is obviously very impactful to their lives, and so that would be really important, is thinking of my own children going through this system. So I have my bachelor's and master's in music education, but then I recently graduated with my PhD in teaching and learning from UND. So lots and lots of education experience. It's all I've really done is schooling and working in teaching. I've taught levels K through adulthood, including future teachers at UND. So a lot of experience in different formats of classrooms. I did lunch duty for 11 years at a middle school. So if you haven't been in there, you should totally check it out sometime. You learn a lot about child development in a lunchroom. So my big priority is looking at, if I'm elected, number one is to retain student-facing positions. Research shows how important it is to have a trusted adult, not only at home, but outside of the home. And for most of our children, that's at school. So we need the best of the best in our classrooms with our children each and every day. So alongside with retaining those positions is teacher recruitment and really retention. We have amazing teachers in our buildings, and we're losing them to not only teacher burnout, but to things happening in the district, which leads to my next priority, increasing trust in our district. Right now, there's kind of a distrust in the community from our teachers, from even administration to district administration. And so we need to rebuild that trust. We have high numbers of students going to private schools or being homeschooled because of that distrust. And so I don't necessarily have the answer of how to build trust on day one, but I know that that's an issue we need to come at. And then, of course, the looming budget issues, right? I don't think our budget issues are solved this year, but I know that my priority is to keep good teachers in the classrooms, and that begins with retaining student-facing positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Brianna Hall.
My name is Brianna Hall, though most of you in this room know me by Bree. I am a mom of four, and I am deeply passionate about the quality of education that not only my children receive, but all of Grand Forks receives. And unfortunately, with the recent budget cuts, that quality of education differs based on what school a kid goes to or what neighborhood that they live in. I am from a family of educators. I am a former early childhood educator, and I know how hard our teachers work, how much they invest in their classrooms, how much they invest in their students, whether it be through their time, their finances, their physical energy. And at this point, I feel like our teachers are undervalued, underappreciated, and not supported, which is something I would love to change. My husband and I moved to Grand Forks about 5 years ago when he was offered a clergy position out in Crookston, Minnesota. And we really deliberated, do we move to Crookston where his job was, or do we move to Grand Forks and I continue working remotely for Amazon? And ultimately, in talking to both communities, Grand Forks was the clear choice. It was a community that felt strongly about itself, that felt connected, that felt like it had this community feeling of people wanting to step up and support each other. And so we were happy and are happy that we moved to Grand Forks to pursue that. And through our time there, I have since left my position at Amazon as a product manager to work as an advocate, helping individuals navigate complicated systems, to then being promoted to a director of education outreach. And now I am currently working as a project manager for the College of Education at UND, where my day-to-day role is supporting my educators and researchers, balancing multi-million-dollar budgets, and making sure that we are allocating our resources to where they will best be utilized. Through all of these experiences, I have learned how to ask tough questions, how to have hard conversations, how to manage competing priorities, and how to unify. And that's something that I feel like I've heard consistently from multiple people, that we as a board need to work on unifying our community again and to making it something that we can call ourselves the greater Grand Forks community. So with that being said, my priorities are supporting our teachers and our educators. It is leadership that includes transparency, accountability, collaboration, and making sure that students are always at the heart of every decision that we make. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Hansen.
Hello, my name is Veronica Hansen, and thank you for having me today. I wanted to say that my key points are, number one, the kids, absolutely the kids. I want safety. Every single employee, staff member, and volunteer that's going to be working in and around our children. I want the background checks done, state and federal. I want that done first prior to them doing anything with our children. That is a huge thing on my campaign. And also, I want to be able to restructure the six-figure salaries. I want to be able to give the kids every opportunity we can. If there's those problems with us keeping band, choir, music, art, I want us to use the six-figure salaries. I want to restructure that and bring it down to those programs. Keep them there by restructuring how we use that money. My goals are, once again, the kids, making sure everything is available for our children and it's all in home. I am a mother of 3. I've got a son who is 25, a daughter who is 7, and another who is 5. My son has already graduated from East Grand Forks Senior High, so I already know what it's like to raise a child from who has graduated high school. So I've been there, done it. And then my 2 daughters, they are both in the Grand Forks Public School System right now. One of them attends Head Start, and I am a board member on the Head Start Policy Council. So I get to be a part of that, and they have taken some big changes in how they their state and federal background checks on the employees and volunteers and staff members. So I want to use that same procedure that they do with ours as well. Yeah, once again, the kids, number one. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Lori Kramer.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lori Kramer, and I am running for a seat on the Grand Forks School Board. My husband Mike and I have 2 girls that went through the Grand Forks school system, and we couldn't have asked for a better experience for them. They thrived. They loved the teachers and the administration. We felt like it was just one big family for us. I care about every student receiving a high quality education in an environment where they feel safe, challenged, and heard. To keep the amazing teachers we have, I feel like we need to provide them with competitive compensation and benefit packages, mentoring programs, and open communication between the principals, school board, and the superintendent of the Grand Forks School District. I am committed to promoting transparency in the decision-making and actively seek community input by making myself approachable at community and school events. I will be open to have open-ended conversations and learn from the parents in the district. I want there to be a strong partnership between the school board and superintendent built on trust, transparency, and mutual accountability, which will ensure effective leadership and consistent, positive, and rewarding future for the Grand Forks School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron Murphy.
Howdy, my name is Cameron Murphy. So I have 2 kids currently in the school system and 2 more up and coming. So my background, graduated from Red River in 2004 and ended up going to Hastings College, my degree in chemistry, and then eventually got my doctorate in nutrition and food science from the University of Nebraska. So priorities running for the board is, number one, we got to preserve the performing arts. Grand Forks has a crown jewel that is our performing arts program that is unique compared to anywhere else you look in the country, especially for a public school. And it was amazing, on the All-City Orchestra concert, we have these people that we bring in. So we had a trio that came and, they play at the White House. I mean, we're talking high-level people. And they came and they said, wow, you guys have a music program that we don't see at country day schools. And for those that aren't familiar, country day schools are, roughly somewhere in that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year private school. And that's something really special. And they're just flabbergasted. How does this exist in Grand Forks, North Dakota? And that's something we really need to protect. And for anyone who happened to see it, I know, Josh, I saw you there last night at the Schrader Middle School. They had the concert. And I tell you, you could go do it in a stadium. It was that good, right? What we have going in the performing arts is really special, and we really need to protect it and even enhance it. From a cost perspective, it's not that expensive compared to what you get out of it. Conversely, we also need to look at costs, right? We have budget cuts. I would anticipate future budget cuts. There is a referendum that's coming up in November, and if it passes, it'll mean likely a $4 million cut to the budget in the next biennium. And so that's something we need to prepare for. On the board, number one thing is budget. Number two thing is superintendent. So we talk about keeping leadership accountable. If I'm on the board, one thing is asking critical questions. I like to dive into research and literature, and I won't always take things at face value. And we need to have that question of our leadership to look for new ideas to bring the school system back to being number one. We're number 7 in the state. We used to be number 1. We should be number 1 again. So come out and vote June 9th.
Okay, thank you all for your opening statements. We'll go one in each time as we do our questions. And again, especially now to try to get through, we're going to try to get through 4 questions and then get to closing statements. But Barry will put up the sticky note when we get to that one minute mark to try to keep it to that time frame so everybody can hear the answers to these questions. The first question is, how do you balance providing great services to our students, but yet providing value to taxpayers? And I apologize. These are tough questions to answer in 1 minute, but we'll start with Josh.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the question. First off, I would say, I think really something you have to be able to do is look at it from a detailed level and understand what value you're providing, but also look at it from a high level. What are you impacting? At face value, how large of a scale are you impacting, and what educational opportunities are you impacting? Because really, that's at the end of the day, the job that we're here to do is educate our students, and how do we make decisions that positively influence or least negatively impact the education that we provide our students and the educational opportunities, extracurricular activities, whatever it may be. How do we make the decisions, or how do we best look at opportunities to impact have the least impact in a negative way, or provide the best positivity for our students?
I think the key thing here is we have to know what our priorities are. And as a school board, our priority has to be the children, and that they're given the best quality education that is possible. So we need to take a hard look at everything in the district, budgets, personnel, everything, and make sure that our priorities are on point, that we're looking at what's best for kids. And that by doing that, we can then make some decisions that will balance the financial needs with the resources of individual teachers and that sort of thing. I think we've gotten kind of hung up with a lot of positions that maybe are those middle management positions that aren't necessarily servicing kids directly. And I think we need to look at the direct services that we're giving children first.
So I think that by serving our students, we are serving our taxpayers. I want to live in a community and a society that's well-educated and well-rounded, because I think that makes for a better place to be. So I think by focusing on our students and giving them the best education and well-rounded education possible. A lot of us have touched on music and the performing arts, and that's part of what makes a person well-rounded, honestly. I could go on, and I won't get on my soapbox about the arts and how important they are because we'll be here a long time. But we have so many different programs at our schools that contribute to a well-rounded education. And when you look at our community, we have a well-rounded community. We have strong arts. We have strong physical sports type athletic activities. We have so many great things in our community, and that comes from the people that we raise in our schools. A lot of people who go to school here stay here. So I think that the audience is the same.
I think echoing what others have already said is that we need to keep students as a priority, that they need to be the focus of our decisions. I think something that not a lot of people understand is right now in the elementary schools, languages has been cut, STEM programs have been cut, art has been cut, music has drastically been cut to the point where I think there is now only fifth grade orchestra and band left in the elementary schools. Now fourth. Okay. Thank you. But with all these cuts, I don't know if people quite understand that for families that don't have the economic means to experience those things, school is the place that they do that. And that we've actually done our students a disservice and in turn done our taxpayers a disservice by not using those tax dollars to support our public schools. I think when we invest in our students, our educators benefit. When we spend responsibly, we garner trust. And when we keep students at the center of our every decision, our entire community succeeds and ultimately is a tax boom for our taxpayers.
All right, so I just want to clarify, make sure I got the question right. So it was, how do you balance great service to our children using our...
Yes, versus providing value to the taxpayers. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. So I want to collaborate with outside organizations. So we already have free services in our organization, our community for Grand Forks. And so our tax dollars are paying for these services, these organizations that provide needs to be met, mental health, physical, crisis services, anything. So what I'd want to do is I want to collaborate with those organizations. I want to bring them in. And like I said, those services are already free. So that's, I think that's a wonderful way to use our tax dollars to make sure we have great services. Just by using what we have, what we're already spending money on. Thank you.
I would say too that the top priority of a school board should always be the students. That's what they're here for. That's who we want to support. I feel like I recently visited a school, and I know it was a place where the kids maybe struggled a little bit, and like I just fell in love with all those kids. Like I wanted to bring them home. I know they have trouble, some of them getting to school, paying for lunches and paying for other activities, like if they want to do other activities in school. And I just feel like we need to have people that are willing to support those kids and help out wherever we can. So thanks.
So when you're balancing the needs of the students and of course the parents and everybody else with what we're talking about is budget here. And one of the big things is talk about administration. We are over administered. Right now there are 24 administrators at MSEC. To put things in perspective, Bismarck, which is the #1 ranked school district in the state, has 29, and they have roughly twice as many students. And so clearly there's some inefficiencies that we've created over the years with sort of, as Jonelle mentioned, these middle management positions. And a lot of that comes from the leadership in the superintendent's office. And you got to say, hey, what is it that all these people are actually doing? Is it something that is needed, or is it something that is wanted, or is it something that is politically desirable here, there, or the other place? The other thing is we also need to look at, frankly, right-sizing the district a bit. Right now, our student-teacher ratio is 10.69 to 1. I realize not all those are student-facing, but to put things in perspective, the state average is 13 to 1. The national average is 15.4 to 1. And of course, all these districts are going to have some of these non-student-facing individuals as well. So we need to look at and say, are there situations where that position isn't needed? the dogged approach of saying we want to have lower and lower student teacher ratios, there's no real benefit there. It's a very expensive way to do a whole lot of nothing. So we got to really look back and say, hey, how are we going to balance making sure our students get the best education with the arts, again, an inexpensive way that affects a lot of students very positively, sports, an inexpensive way that affects a lot of students very positively, with the fiscal realities that we're going to find ourselves in.
Thank you. I'm going to be the old person on the panel and say, why do I have to pay taxes for that? I don't have kids in school. Well, you do. You actually do have kids in school. It's your neighbor's kid. It's your grandchildren. It's your great niece or whatever. But the thing is that we never know what that child's going to come to school and what's going to be his motivator. Hey, you want to try out for band? There's his motivator, makes him want to come to school every day. Not every child's an athlete. Not every child is a 4-point student, but there's something that motivates them to make them want to learn. And that's what we have to give them. We have to give them that motivation. We have to give them the opportunity to come to school and do what they like, to be with teachers that are 100% ready to teach them, willing to work with them, be their substitute person for the day, be their substitute grandma or whatever they're going to be. But as we all said, it's the kids. We're on the kids, and that's where it is. Taxpayer dollars, I'm going to say this too. I've been paying for the Garrison diversion for over 60 years, and I've never been there. So that's what you paid for. I'm still taxed for it, and there it is. And I do know that our taxes for the school system is the highest proportion, and it's where it should be. There's just no, you got to have the money to have good teachers for our kids.
Thank you. Janelle will have the first opportunity to answer this question. With the largest share of residents' tax dollars going to the school district, what is your position on approving property tax incentives, giving away those revenues that could be coming to the school district?
Well, that's interesting. That was the question that was asked of us when we met with the realtors. Tax incentives, I see both sides of it. I see where that does bring people into our community. I see where it does bring jobs to us. But I get a little concerned when I see these tax incentives being for 10 years. I mean, this company isn't coming here just because of the tax incentive. They wanted to come here. So sometimes I wonder if we give them too much of a break. But I also think we need to think in terms of where the resources are for the school district rather than just the city. It originally was that 75% of our income was supposed to come from the state, 25% from local revenue. That became skewed and it was backwards. And that's why our property taxes went so high. We were paying 75%, the state was paying 25%. Over the years, they have, at the state level, when I was there, we tried to bring it back up, and it was more to a 60-40 split, with the state paying 60 and us paying 40, but that's starting to slip again. So I think that you have lots of cuts. The state has cut 2.5% of their funding to public schools because the priority of the legislature has been to fund homeschooling and fund charter schools. So that has taken away from public education. You also have 8% that has been dropped from the federal government because of the cuts that are happening in Washington, D.C. So the district is dealing with a lot of things. And when you look at those incentives, it just compounds the problem. So I think there has to be some sort of middle ground there.
I don't know enough about these programs to just blanket say they're all good or they're all bad, right? And I think it's way more complex than that, and I can acknowledge that. So I think that anytime one would come across, we would have to just really dig into that individual one. I think the concern is that for a long time, it's felt like the boards have just rubber stamped Yes, we want more business here. Yes, we want more people. And now we've kind of put ourselves in this situation where like, oh, we've done that way too much, and now we need more tax dollars. And so I do think it's an important time to really consider the pros and cons of every single application to that. Is this really a business that we have to have in our community, and the only way they'll be here is if they get this tax incentive when, like you said, they kind of want to come here anyways, you know? So I just think it's not easy to have a blanket yes or no, but just to look to the experts and really dig into every single application.
I echo most of what Jonelle and Elise have already said. I don't think we need to be rubber stamping these programs. I don't know if we need to be incentivizing $2,500 apartments with bowling alleys and golf simulators in the bottom. But I do think it has to be a case-by-case basis because a lot of this tends to live in a gray area. My concern as someone who desires to be a public servant and can serve my constituents is asking, how do my constituents feel about it? And how do I make sure that our taxpayers get a return on investment? How do we make sure that our district gets the most return on investment?
Okay, so I just got to make sure I understood this question too. So we're talking about tax incentives and pilots and how to use them correctly. All right, so mine is I want to, once again, use it for the kids, use it in-house, use it in the schools. If there's going to be any tax incentives, pilots going on, it's going to be done in the schools, in-house. Once again, that's my number one, the kids.
I agree too with Elise and Jonelle. I don't really know a lot about a lot of these programs, but it seems there has been a disconnect. And I do agree that if we are going to be giving those tax incentives, they shouldn't be for the 20 years. There has to be like a middle ground that we can come to. As we all know, the public school system is struggling right now. And I feel like we need to get as much money as we can back into these schools.
So pilot programs are a really powerful tool to bring new business and new people in the Grand Forks. So I'm all for the pilot programs. Agristo is a fantastic recent example. So they're coming into town. If we didn't have the pilot program, they wouldn't be coming. It's that simple. There was $30 million there. They needed to build a roughly $500 million potato factory. And what does that mean? That means higher paying jobs. That means more new people moving into town, which ultimately will increase our tax base. So opposing pilot programs in a blanket sense is very short-sighted and doesn't see the overall bigger picture. Why bring in next to nothing on a piece of property if we can improve it a ton? And yeah, they're not going to pay anything in taxes for a long time, but you know what? They're going to bring a lot of people into our town who are going to go buy houses, which are all going to be taxed at a much higher rate. And so ultimately, that's going to bring then more children into our district. More children equals more state aid, right? So the pilot programs are a very important tool that we have to bring businesses into Grand Forks, and we're competing with other municipalities like Fargo or Bismarck.
So it's kind of tough. As a retired realtor, I know how it all worked, even with the housing project and how they would give them abatements for 2-3 years or whatever. I agree with Jonelle. The pilot program is a great program, but it doesn't need to go on for 20-30 years. That's the one thing that sticks me, is that it just seems like forever, like we're paying their mortgage or whatever. Another thing is the state gives us a tax abatement every year. They pay our tax out. Why don't they ask me where I want that $1,600 to go? You know, I would gladly take that $1,600 off my tax thing and give it to the Grand Forks Public School System, or give it to the Garrison diversion. But instead of just taking it off and not having to pay less, I would like to put it somewhere where it could be used. And why don't they just give it back to us as a school incentive, or to the districts? That is, if people would think about that. I know it's a lot of bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff, and we do need the pilot programs. We do need businesses to get people into town, to get better paying jobs and all this kind of stuff. but there has to be a limit on how much we're going to give away.
I think pilot and tax or TIF programs are an extremely important tool for the use of the city and all taxing entities as a whole to be able to utilize in the right circumstances for the right reasons to better our city, to grow, to increase our tax base, all of those things. Again, it's a tool. It's not a one size fits all. It's a complex. Each single application is a complex situation or ask. I think one thing that has been really enlightening and a lot of conversation that has been had with recent ones that have come to board levels is asking more questions, and certainly it's become a much more of a hot topic. I think one thing that is moving forward, and we've not quite in place yet, but being worked on is a process to make sure that taxing entities are fully informed of all of the details and the information that they need to know to properly make the right decision for their entity. If you're whatever entity, public taxing entity you're representing, make the right decision for your entity, and that's a huge tool that I would compliment all involved in getting that in place, because that's important to make sure that people have the right information. Thank you.
Thank you. Elise will be up first on this next question. How do you plan on involving the community into our children's learning?
I think it's important to listen to community input. And so that means having feelers in a lot of different places. Most of my feelers right now are teachers within the district. So it is important for me to reach out to different industries and community. You know, we met with the realtors and I was like, yes, it's good to hear all these different perspectives. Running for school board has really helped with that. I was talking to somebody the other day who had a totally different perspective on the West building closing than I had been aware of. And so I was like, yeah, there's so many facets to these things that we don't think about. If your priority, you know, which our priority is children, we've made that all very clear. And so if that is where our head's at, we aren't thinking necessarily about the real estate in the area of where West Elementary was. And so it was interesting to hear those perspectives and kind of all the domino effects that happen when a decision is made at the board level. And so again, I'm most familiar with how that happens in schools, but I think reaching out to people you might not, you know, speak to every day. Like, what are your thoughts on this? As somebody from this industry, what are your thoughts here? You know.
So I will say, as someone who has worked a lot within our community, and as I mentioned earlier, Grand Forks really does feel like a community, and it feels like a community that really cares about each other. So this past weekend, Elise and I held a fundraiser called Don't Stop the Music. It was this underground kind of speakeasy at Urban Stampede. And the goal of that fundraiser was to raise money for music programming in the schools, because that has been cut with recent budget cuts. And we had about 150 people come through and enjoy a 7-course meal. We had I don't know if we could call it a silent auction, a sweepstakes. I'm not sure what the legality of it was. But part of that was just inviting the community to be a part of it. And I honestly was shocked at how much involvement the community wanted to be, because they believe in music in the classrooms. They wanted to support our students. And so organizations like Poplars and Grand Cities Children's Choir and Northern Valley Youth Orchestra were the first people in line to stand up and say, we want to be a part of this. We want to support you, even though those are organizations that would financially benefit from those music programs not existing in the elementary schools. And I think when we talk about involving the community, I think it starts with an ask, and it starts with an idea, and it starts with people who can make things happen. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to do that in Grand Forks that just hasn't been tapped into, or that hasn't been listened to and then moved with action.
Okay, so once again, just want to clarify. So it's, how do you plan on involving our community in our children's involvement in the schools? Okay, so what I want is, I look back at when I was in high school. I graduated from Sacred Heart, and that's where I learned to paint. I'm an artist. It's one of my favorite hobbies, and if I can make some money off that, bonus. anyways, so I do remember is painting, and we would invite the whole community to come into the school and look at everyone's artwork that we surrounded in our in the lunchrooms. So yes, that was awesome. I just remember the feeling of doing something I was passionate about, and then knowing that everyone in the community was invited to look at my art and my classmates' work as well. So I would want to do that. And also with music, I remember singing, and everybody was invited to the choir concerts for Christmas, Thanksgiving, even Halloween choir concerts we had. And I remember doing these in kindergarten. And I mentioned earlier, I have 2 daughters that are currently in the Grand Forks Public Schools. I have one that's a first grader, and not once has there been a choir concert. So just to have that, to bring that in, bring our community in, and to have those music programs where our kids can sing and everybody can come in and listen, and start that in kindergarten. Not wait. I think I heard something about 5th grade was where they were waiting all the way until the kids could have band choir or band concerts. So that is definitely how I see the community being involved is through our arts programs. Thank you.
I would say too that if I'm elected to be a part of this school board, I want to get out into the schools and talk with the teachers, the administrators, the custodians, everyone in between. They're the people that are hands-on every day. We need to spend the time listening to them. We need to take the time and see if they have different ideas, see if they have things that are working in their classrooms, or things even that aren't working. And I want to get out into the community and talk to people. I like to be out talking to people, and I think that's the way that we're going to get their input. And I think that will build trust between the school board and the community.
So when it comes to community involvement in the school system with our students, there's really the first 2 things that are going to come up are what I would call the front porch of any institution of education, be it K-12, college, doesn't really matter. And those 2 things are going to be your arts and athletics. Those are the first 2 that you think about. So, the aforementioned beginning here, middle school orchestra concert, it's not exactly advertised to the whole community, but it is open for everybody to come if you want to. Obviously all the parents are there, but if you wanted to show up, you can. And so that is, so the performing arts, right? Spa. I mean, anyone who's been to a spa production, that it's like going to Broadway. It's Broadway in a high school. It's fantastic. And then athletics, of course, right? So the hockey, the football, the baseball right now, softball, etc. Right? These are the main things that are going to be community involvement that they see as the front of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis with students. And a new thing that we have as an opportunity to really involve the community is with the trades. And so with the new trade center, there's all kinds of companies, individuals out there, and they are desperate to get people to come in as apprentices. And we could bring companies in and say, hey, use our facility, train up the next generation. And it also becomes a creative way to generate revenue, right? We can rent that space out to say, I was just talking last night with a stonemason, and he can't find the kids to come in and do his job. He's going to be, pushing, 50 now soon. And that's a hard job with your hands, right? And we need these people in our kids in our community to take these sorts of positions and for the next generation. And so that's a new opportunity that we can really involve the community in the education of the kids and get them excited about not just learning with their brain, but also learning with their hands and how they integrate those all together.
I want to, when they talk about community involvement, to me, a lot of the involvement would come to the parents. We'd really want the parents to get more involved. Some parents are 100% on board. Other parents, you don't see them at all. Today, I volunteered at the ELBA event at Kelly. and it was parents helping or other organizers, and everybody was there helping getting the kids because they had done their reading program for the year. And it was so much fun. And this is the type of involvement as even if you only have 2 hours on a Thursday afternoon, I go, okay, come on over and let's do this at the school, or talk to grandma and grandpa and get them to come over. There are a lot of people that want to, and if one person goes and talks about what great is, it just spreads out into the community. And so if you get the parents involved and then you get their people, other parents involved with their kids, this is how we're going to benefit our schools, because it's going to be a more hands-on family type thing. And I think that's the best way to spread the word, is by getting the families and the retired people in there too.
So, as I've mentioned in my opening statement, and has been reported on in the past, is my attendance at board functions is close to perfect. But that doesn't stop at the board table. I mean, I mentioned community events, district events, whatever it may be, getting out into the community and being visible and available to anyone and everyone is highly important. And that doesn't just go for adults, it goes for our students also. And so I've done that. I think what's even more important is to talk about and think about the fact that really outside of the boardroom, I'm just another community member who's privileged to serve as a board member on the school board. And so any opportunity I get with family, friends, neighborhood get together, whatever it may be, is another opportunity to have a conversation. And naturally, because of the knowledge that a lot of people have, as I am a school board member currently, those conversations happen, and there's plenty of opportunity. And generally, I will ask a lot of questions too. What are people's feelings? I think it's highly important. And again, I would just go back to stating that it's not just getting feedback from our community, although that is highly important. It's students. We need to get feedback from our students and hear from them also.
So I'm going to be a little blunt here. If you go to a school board meeting, and I have, there's virtually no one there. No one attends. The only people that are there are the board members. And it's advertised. People know it's happening. But unless there's an issue, unless somebody's upset about something, the room is empty. And that isn't necessarily our community's fault. It's partially the fault of the board members as well as the community. If you go to an event at an elementary school where they have a choir concert, the place is packed. If you go to spa, it's packed. If you go to a football game, it's packed. But when you come to things like board meetings, there's no one there. So I think the board needs to do more of a reach out to the community. Now, they do have community conversations. Is it twice a year? Twice a year, and people are invited to come in, and they break them into small groups at South Middle School, and they have conversations, but usually there's a very centered topic. I think the board has to do more reaching out to the community and give the community more opportunity to participate and learn about what the board does. Because there's a rumor mill that is going around this community constantly, and it's not always accurate. So we need to make sure that the board is getting the facts out there, that they're transparent, and that there's a two-way conversation between the community and the board.
Okay, thank you everybody for your comments. We weren't able to get to the final question, but it had to do with the arts and music, and a lot of you individually addressed that in your comments throughout the evening. So I feel like that was pretty adequately addressed. We'll go in reverse order here for our 1 minute final comments.
So we've had a nice discussion really centering around the budget and taxes and the arts. So voting for me, that's going to be about bringing that critical thinker really to the board, asking a lot of tough questions, maybe being a little bit of a thorn in the side, not always going the way of everybody else. And that's an important element that we need to have. I think one of the big problems we've had as a district is that we've had a lot of just go along, get along, without really having that critique that's based upon not anecdotal evidence, but based upon real data that you go out and you find yourself. Protecting the arts, understanding getting the most bang for your buck, essentially, right? We live in a fiscal reality right now that we just don't have the money we used to have, and we need to adjust to that without losing the things that make the district special. So come out and vote. The election day is June 9th. Early voting is the week before, and absentee ballots are available now.
I think I neglected to, in my opening statement, to let everybody know that I have run an in-home daycare for 23 years now. And so I get to see the formative years of the kids. It's just amazing to watch. It's amazing to be around every day. So I'm excited if I'm elected to get served on the Grand Forks School Board. I feel like we need to get back to the trust between the school board and the community. That's going to be one thing that I'm going to work hard to bring back. I want to be out in the community talking to people. I want to be a advocate, a voice for the teachers. And I want to be, and our number one priority will always be the students. So get out and vote on June 9th.
All right. So, once again, vote for me, Veronica Hansen, for school board this June 9th, 2026. And my number ones are, of course, the kids. And I haven't said it, but I will. I am a trauma survivor, and I understand that there are complexities and they're difficult navigating and healing from crisis. And I do know that a lot of the parents, when it came to communication, and myself too, I'm a parent, so speaking up and speaking out about things that are happening that aren't so great, and they need to be heard. They need to be nurtured, and they need to be dealt with. Nothing should ever be swept under the rug. Nothing should ever be neglected. The children deserve 100% respect, honesty, and trustworthy individuals working for them, which is me. 100%. I will be working for those kids, and I will be making sure that those state and federal background checks for all individuals who are coming into contact with our children will be made prior to their employment or services with our children. Safety first as well for the retaining knowledge. We know that we all want our kids to have high test scores. We want our kids to be as smart as they can be, filled with full of knowledge. That can't happen if they're not feeling safe in their space. So making sure they feel safe, making sure those measures are in place, and then our children will be able to retain knowledge. Thank you.
Grand Forks needs leadership. It needs leadership that not only says it prioritizes our students, but actually allocates our resources and votes in alignment with that priority. It needs leadership that is transparent and accountable, is willing to have hard conversations and ask tough questions. Leadership that not only says it supports our teachers and educators, but actually does the due diligence of moving in action in supporting those educators and giving them a voice at the table to ask questions of how can we make things better, and then actually listens to those answers. I think that leadership is on this stage, and I'm really excited to be in a position to hopefully work with some of these people to bring that to Grand Forks and to be that strong leadership that we need. Thank you.
I think a lot of us have similar ideas, right? We want transparency, we want accountability. I think something I bring that's a little bit different is the recent experience in Grand Forks Public Schools. Like looking back to the conversations this spring around cuts to the music program, there were things happening that people on the board just didn't understand because they didn't live it. They didn't understand the way the schedules worked. They didn't understand the co-curricular contracts versus extracurricular contracts. There's just a lot of nuances, and like, no, a person can't be at 6 or 7 buildings in a week. It's just not feasible, right? And so I think that's a different perspective that I can bring with the background knowledge that I had from teaching, and especially teaching in the arts, that we've all talked about how important the arts are and how it brings our community together. So yeah, I think that we have a really great panel of people here, but please vote for me too. Thanks.
You know, I come from a long line of educators. My grandmother had a one-room schoolhouse and taught in that forum. My mother was a teacher. I'm a teacher. My daughter teaches theater at Davies in Fargo. My son-in-law is a music teacher at Fargo North. My son was a teacher at Valley and then went into administration. They're cousins coming out of the woodwork that are teachers. That's what I do. I'm a teacher. I understand how schools work, and schools are very, very different right now. They're very different. And we need to address those differences because we can't run a school status quo anymore. We need to look at what's happening in those schools and address some of those needs. And I think with my background in education, I have some of that knowledge that I can share. Education is my passion, and I just hope that I can get your vote on June 6th, 9th. 9th. Oh my goodness. Okay, June 9th. See, I'm used to running for the legislature. That's always in November, guys. You have to help me out here. But June 9th, I would appreciate your vote, and I will do everything I can to be as visible and to be as approachable and be as available as I possibly can to all members of our school community, and that means parents, children, teachers, paras, and support staff. I think we should be attending. They have school board members assigned to certain buildings, and they show up to cut the cake at American Education Week, and some will show up to other events, and some will come in and cut the cake and leave. We need school board members that are going to be there and are going to interact and are going to be there just to come, and I'll be one of those. Thank you.
First of all, thank you again to the Chamber for putting this together and hosting the candidate forum this evening for us candidates, and the work you do informing all community members. Over the past 4 years, the work we have done together as a board has been significant. We've taken on major opportunities, faced serious challenges, made difficult decisions that were not always easy, but were made for the benefit of the district as a whole and the future of our students. I have the experience as an incumbent board member, and I believe that matters. I understand the complexity of the issues facing our schools, and I believe proven leadership and continuity are important as we continue moving our district forward. We're in much different place today than we were at the beginning of my service, and I'm proud of the progress we've made together. As a graduate of the Grand Forks Public Schools, a former district employee, and most of all as a father to 4 young daughters, 3 currently attending our schools, the other starting kindergarten in the fall. This work is deeply personal to me. I care about the success of every student because these schools are a part of my family's future too. I'm committed to making decisions honestly, thoughtfully, and based on facts, figures, and data. I'm not a single issue candidate. I believe school board members must look at the full picture and work collaboratively to create the best educational experience possible for all students while being responsible stewards of our taxpayer resources. I also believe our responsibility is to continue moving the district forward by focusing on long-term solutions rather than short-term fixes. The decisions we make today should strengthen our schools not just for the next year, but for the future generations of students, families, and staff. That requires careful planning, responsible leadership, and willingness to make difficult decisions with the future in mind. I have shown up, stayed engaged, and remained committed to the district through both successes and challenges. My name is Josh Anderson. I would be honored to continue serving our community and would respectfully ask for your support on June 9th. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you again for the chamber and our host this evening for asking the tough questions. Again, it comes down to the kids. I want to let the citizens of Grand Forks know that that is my top priority, is the kids and the people teaching them. So that's got to be number one, and that's what I will work for tirelessly, just to make sure that the teachers have the best support that they have, and the children have the best teaching experience, learning experiences that they can get in the Grand Forks public school system. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for 8 people to get all their points in. I think we did a great job, but there's also some additional information out there. The Herald today did a really nice article. Everybody contributed to that. There's additional questions that were answered. So thank you to Corey Wenzel, who put together a really nice article. Quite lengthy, and I printed. It's pretty thick, actually. It helps to really differentiate the candidates, and appreciate your time and your commitment through this process. So, on behalf of the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this, and for everybody coming tonight. I want to remember that June 9th is the day for voting, and early voting is sooner. So thank you, everybody. Get out and vote. This forum will be on the city's Facebook channel. And with that, have a great evening, everybody. Mm-hmm.